This video is going to be a preview of the Lions' visit to New Orleans to take on the Saints in Week 13. I think this is a critical game. I don't think it can really be overstated how important this game is for the Lions, sitting at 8-3. A ninth win with a suddenly more difficult-looking schedule to finish the season, I think, is incredibly important about securing the division with 2 games against Minnesota in the last 3 weeks, sandwiched around a game against the Cowboys, which is obviously going to be a challenge. Each of the last Lions' 3 games have been close and competitive to the final minutes, at least in terms of the scoreboard. Personally, I think that the Packers game on Thanksgiving Day was pretty much decided when Jared Goff's 4th down pass to Sam Laporta went incomplete with about 7 minutes left, down 29-14. Did add a late touchdown, but most of the last 3 weeks been extremely competitive for all 180 minutes on the scoreboard, other than the Packers jumping ahead big and then holding the Lions off in the end. I think beyond the Lions' defense needing to step up against a Saints team that could be without a couple of big play wide receivers, Rashid Shaheed, and then star wide receiver Chris Olave has been in the concussion protocol, did do full practice, I believe, on Friday. The biggest element for me is avoiding the turnovers, clearly, for the Lions. It's been a huge problem in the last 2 weeks, specifically for Jared Goff. Overall, the Lions have 7 turnovers in the last 2 weeks and have fallen behind against division opponents, the Bears and the Packers. Clearly, Goff's been right in the middle of it, don't get me wrong, but he's not the only part of this equation, even though he does have 3 interceptions and 3 fumbles in that time. Pass pro was clearly an issue, particularly against the Packers. While the Saints are not really they're not really known for generating a ton of sacks consistently. They've got 18 sacks on the year, so that's near the bottom of the league. I want to say bottom 10 overall in the NFL. The thing that strikes you when you watch the Saints film is they are exceptional at getting turnovers. It's probably, for me, the main element, along with the run game, of this matchup that's so fascinating. You've got multiple storylines, I guess, that I'm sure Detroit media has talked about. Dan Campbell returning to New Orleans. Alex Anzalone, who probably around the league from other fan bases doesn't get the respect that he deserves, being out. How do the Lions play better defensively without him when he's such an important part of their coverage element, against stopping the run, and then also unscheduled plays that he makes, that he gets involved in, where not necessarily the flow of the play or the intention of the call on defense is to have him make a play, but nonetheless his athleticism gets involved. The Jared Goff turnover streak versus what is a team of ball hawks defensively, the Saints. Their secondary is well coached, very athletic, clearly, and deep. So we'll start there. The Saints have 14 interceptions so far, the second highest number in the league. Paulson Adebo, has 4. He also has 2 forced fumbles. Tyrann Mathieu has 3 interceptions, including this pick 6 against the Patriots. 6 other players have interceptions in 2023. They get after the football when it's in the air. Number 1, even though the pass rush isn't necessarily complementary all the time. In this case, there is some pressure, obviously, on Mac Jones. They play a lot. This is a 3rd and 6. They play a lot of man-free on 3rd down. As we get through the video, I'll talk about teams that have been able to exploit that, in some cases with the run game. But Matthew's going to drop down here, basically be the low-hole dropper. The other safety is going to drop back, be middle of the field free safety, in what is basically man-free by the Saints. They play a lot of man-free on 3rd down. You can see the way these guys are matching up. Matthew is just reading the routes, I should say, and then breaking on it. There's also pressure. Someone hits Mac Jones as he releases the football. Kind of an easy interception but for Tyrann Mathieu, but he put himself in that position. Obviously, always had great ball skills, awareness, and plays with fantastic leverage at all times. This is against the Falcons. He's down the bottom side of the screen. This is a 24-15 loss for the Saints. Mathieu had 2 interceptions in this game, however. He plays with fantastic awareness. You got motion across the formation, going to turn into basically a wheel to the downside of our screen, and Matthew's going to match it. I mean, Desmond Ridder does kind of throw the football to him, don't get me wrong. But he's got great hips, great feet, and ability to play the route and then break on the ball. He's seen so many plays in the NFL and college as well at LSU that I think he's got this second nature about him in terms of when the ball should be thrown based upon the route. Incredible player that sometimes ends up in just the right place. They're exceptional at getting turnovers across the board. In some cases, it's their good fortune. Ritter's trying to get the ball to Bijan Robinson. The ball's thrown way too hard, trying to get it in this little window. There's a lot of other things wrong with the play as well. But anyway, Matthew gets another pick. I think this was actually earlier in the game than the one I just showed you. And look, the Saints defense is going to be without Marcus May, who's another ball-hawking safety. I'll show you one interception he has this year. Inside linebacker Pete Werner is a underrated loss for them. Cam Jordan, I think, is questionable, although I do think he returned to practice on Friday. They may need to force some turnovers because they struggle to stop the run. And Adebo and Matthew are the two guys that are heavily involved in forcing fumbles, forcing turnovers, getting the ball away from the other team. This is a completion to DJ Moore over the middle. Matthew and Adebo are going to get there. I'm not sure necessarily who gets credit for forcing the fumble. Adebo recovers it. Just a brilliant football player, man. When you watch the film of him, number one, really good coverage generally. Number two, he's great at breaking on the football, whether it's man or zone. Week 7 against the Jaguars, game they lost 31-24. He's man on Christian Kirk down here. Kirk's going to beat him. He gave him this little upfield fake to create some space, and then Adebo recovers once Kirk tries to get up, forces the fumble that I believe the Saints recovered. He's a difficult guy to get things done against and not have that fear or that danger lurking of him forcing a fumble, recovering a fumble, or getting an interception. Marcus Lattimore's got, obviously a more well-known player, but they've got Alontae Taylor too. Those three guys, Adebo, Lattimore, and Alontae Taylor, there's a talented group of corners, number one. Number two, they've got 31 total pass deflections between them on the year. I feel like that's pretty significant. Setting this video up for you to illustrate to you that I think it's very important the Lions get the run game established early in the game. First half at least, put this Saints defense in a situation where they've got to defend the run. This is a Tampa 2. Down here at the bottom of the screen, Adebo, you get a nice real deep drop by Werner, who again I think is a pretty underrated football player. It's against the Bears. And then once the ball is in the air, you see that the staggering of the drop between Werner and Taylor creates the illusion for the quarterback that Cole Kmet is open. And there's a lane to throw it to, but Adebo is able to underlap this thing or overlap his zone coverage area. They're really good in zone from the plays that I've seen. I feel like they don't play a ton of zone, at least from the probably 80 offensive snaps that I have film of. On third down, they're generally playing a lot of man free. This is against the Colts, a game where they gave up, I think, 164 yards rushing, of which I'll show you a significant amount here later on. He's not just brilliant in terms of taking the ball away from the other team. I feel like he has a great understanding of the 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drop differentials, meaning he seems to understand what routes are going to, just like I said about Matthew, what routes are going to develop and when and where the ball will be thrown. They're just, at least this year on film, 2023, the Saints secondary looks extremely well coached. And those two guys in particular, but also Lattimore and Taylor, have a great handle on what types of routes are being run, number one, and then when the football will be thrown. And I haven't done a good job necessarily of talking about his coverage skills in man. So I'll let you see a little bit of that. He's down here at the bottom side of the screen. First of all, the Patriots take forever to get plays off. I sat through probably 15 or 18 plays before I decided to just move on to them against other teams. But this is a third down. Actually, we're going to see 2 third downs in a row of Adebo matched up against Devontae Parker, who's a big, talented receiver. almost makes a great catch here. And there's definitely contact to the downside of the screen. This is what you get from Paulson Adebo. I think he's a third-year player. Went to high school in Texas and I think played at Stanford, but originally from Michigan in some manner. Second, third down here in a row for him. Generally going to see him on the left side of the Saints defense, right side of the Lions offense on Sunday. No moment seems too big for him. I don't really know a whole lot about him. I just know that on film, he looks spectacular. You almost kind of don't even notice Marcus Lattimore because of how brilliant the film of this guy looks. Coverage, interceptions, forcing fumbles, recovering fumbles. He's a big play guy. You can see, hopefully you can see why I'm excited to just watch him, although, hopefully you're a Lions fan if you're watching this long. The Saints are just really good in coverage with those guys in particular. Other guys are involved in taking the football away. I think Marcus May is out, but this is an amazing interception by him, closing on this route in empty from the top side. Here he's going to close down over the middle of the field. Looks like it's open for, I think it's Bagent to throw it to him in the window between two second-level defenders, and a great interception. One thing to notice from this, 6 times on film that I have at least, I have the Saints only rushing 3. So dropping out both outside linebacker / DN guys, creating very small windows for the quarterback to throw through, even though this one clearly is one that's open over the middle, and just a great break on the ball by Marcus May. With the amount of times that Jared Goff has turned the football over lately, and the Saints' ability to take the football away once it's in the air, this is an interception that gets overturned, I think, by Lattimore here at the downside of the screen. I think you can tell where I'm going with this. It's a great idea for the Lions to get the run game going early and put this Saints defense in a situation where they've got to tackle more often, particularly with Werner being out. Cam Jordan, I think, finally did return to practice. Full participant on Friday. I think limited participant on Thursday. So presumably he would play. I think he's listed as questionable, but you would like to think that the Lions could get the run game going, especially against a team that has allowed so many rushing yards in the last 6 weeks. Again, I think this one was overturned, but gives you an illustration. You got multiple guys making breaks on the ball. Matthew, Adebo, Marcus May, Lattimore, and that one, like I said, I think was overturned. One thing that had been susceptible to giving up is big plays to running backs and tight ends in the red zone, in the pass game. Now, this is Bijan Robinson, so take it for what it's worth. I mean, the guy's incredibly talented. He's going to make plays against almost everybody. Here, however, you have a wheel developing, basically a wheel, from the backfield against Demario Davis. It's difficult to say that this is tight coverage. This is beat pretty badly. It's a tough cover. It's also another illustration of them being attacked in their man defense. Now, this is first down, but often teams, particularly the Colts, have attacked them on third down, taking advantage of their man coverage. In this case, they happen to get a linebacker on Bijan Robinson. Touchdown. He also had a rushing touchdown in that game. End zone angle, same play. Werner, who's not playing, is going to go on a blitz, and it forces or leaves Davis, who's a really fantastic football player, has been around a long time, on Robinson, which is just a problem. I wonder how often or how soon Ben Johnson and the Lions offense will try to take advantage of some of this stuff, try to go at some of their linebackers in coverage. With Werner out, I think man coverage becomes a little bit more dangerous option for the Saints, whether it's against Jahmyr Gibbs, whether it's against David Montgomery. Now, this is Cole Kmet against Matthew. First of all, it's great coverage by Matthew. It's great leverage. Tempo, matching the route. Design throwback from Bagent. Amazing catch by Cole Kmet. So you can't say anything about the coverage, but the result is another play in the red zone of a touchdown / running back making a play in the pass game. Here you get another example. This is Cole Kmet matched up against a backup linebacker, Zach Baun, I believe, 53. A little bit of a hold and then pull escape by Kmet. Perhaps Lattimore should have been able to help out there. He's to the downside of the screen. He appears to be reading run right here, so he's going to step up and basically leave the tight end for the linebacker. It could be that's the coverage. But in any case, you get an idea that some teams have been able to make plays in the red zone against their linebackers, or in the case of Matthew, a safety, down in the red zone. To illustrate how capable I think Werner is and how the loss could influence their coverages, I do want to show this third down play against the Patriots. It's a 3rd and 2. Again, notice how long it takes the Patriots to get set up and how many apparently fake symbols Mac Jones and others are given. 3rd and 2. They do all this obfuscation stuff to try to figure out the coverage. And then the Saints are just playing man free. So don't bother them. But this is Werner covering underneath of a tight end on a vertical. Ball could be better thrown, don't get me wrong, but it gives you an idea of what they're going to play on 3rd down with Matthew in the box on the running back, Werner matched up against a tight end, probably Taylor, Lattimore, and Adebo matched up on your 3 receivers and 11 personnel. Without Werner, I wonder what the coverage will look like, number one. Number two, will you see more dime looks from the Saints that I haven't seen a whole lot of, to be honest with you. I think it sets up well for Sam Laporta to have a big day in terms of opportunities, and I can see him taking advantage of them. Now, let's move to the run game. The Lions could go a long way towards their 9th win. A great road win, by the way, if they can run the ball well against the Saints defense. And the numbers indicate that they can. The Saints have allowed the 12th most rushing yards in the league in 2023. I think it's 1,364. By comparison, the Lions defense has only allowed a little over 1,000. But if you go a little further and just look at the most recent 6 games, the Saints defense has given up 903 yards on the ground in their last 6 games. The opportunity is there for, if you ask me, for a classic Ben Johnson game plan, in my opinion, that gets the run game established early and attacks the Saints defense, puts them in situations that are less advantageous to their strengths, which I believe their strengths are covering in the pass game and then breaking on balls, breaking on routes, recognizing route combinations and breaking on them, particularly Matthew and Adebo, but Marcus Lattimore obviously is a super high-level player as well. All you got to do to look no further than how the run game can be used is Week 8, their loss to the Colts on the road. 11 personnel run game, number 1, was what I saw as an issue. The Lions need to be able to run the ball, but they need to be able to move people. Now, whether that moving people is blocks moving people horizontally or vertically down the field, or it's a second effort by a running back, which I could see Gibbs or Montgomery doing these type of things, bouncing things outside after initially trying to move downhill. Just so you know, this is all from these next 3 plays, that one I just showed you in the next 2, are all from the Colts' second possession of that game. It's all 11 personnel. This is a trap play. Should look somewhat familiar to you. Call it wham trap because I think the Lions run it, so you should be pretty familiar. All of this is from 11 personnel. It all sets a physical tone for the offense. There's a backside trap block on a D tackle by the tight end. Jonathan Taylor getting downhill. Most of the runs that I have seen that were big against them was second effort type runs, but occasionally you saw some downhill stuff like this. I'm interested to see what Ben Johnson runs against him, whether it's downhill stuff or things like this. I could see him running this exact play. This is hurry up, by the way. This is 3rd play in a row, second possession. 3rd time in a row they're giving the ball to Jonathan Taylor. No huddle. Down into the boundary with motion from a receiver to the field. I think it's downs to the field, but I can certainly see Ben Johnson doing this with Amon-Ra St. Brown, motioning him out, try to hold the field side inside linebacker. So if you just do the math, you're talking about 4 outside away from this play, 5 with the free safety Matthew, and then attacking back to the boundary, which we know is something Ben Johnson likes to do a lot of anyway. I can see this exact, could be Khalif Raymond, could be Amon-Ra St. Brown in the backfield motioning out Could also see him doing this early and throwing this screen out there now, immediately, to set up this run play back to the boundary later on. These opportunities, I think, are there. I'm not saying the Saints are no good against the run, but it's definitely a relative weakness as compared to their ability to cover people and turn the football over. One thing that I think has happened, I have it 3 times so far in just the limited amount of plays that I've got saved up. Third down run plays. So if you believe what I was saying earlier, that they're playing a lot of man free on third downs, where you've got people reading and responsible for, in this case, it's 11 personnel. So you got a tight end and then a receiver, I think it's Isaiah McKenzie, in the backfield. And so what happens on the snap, when McKenzie motions across, like he's possibly getting the football, he could also be running a route out there. The player responsible for him goes as well. So he basically vacates the area he just lined up in, number one. You should get a pin down by the tight end on the outside linebacker. 85 misses here badly, but that player 56 ends up pretty much falling down, I think. Or 55 ends up pretty much falling down over Pittman's leg. So the block is executed, just not by the player who was assigned to do it. But what's my point? Third down, some kind of split flow. McKenzie going to the top side, the top side of the field side, boundary side, and then Jonathan Taylor on the pitch. This is the third time I've seen this exact play run on third down against them, where you've got some type of flow to one side, be it jet motion or whatever, and then the quick flip by the quarterback back against the grain of that motion. Saying that I think this could be another play that is utilized. It's a pin pull action with the tight end supposed to block down on the D end, and then the left tackle pulling out. Both of the tackles for the Lions are clearly athletic enough to get the job done in terms of pulling like this. Another 3rd and 1. This is third possession. This is 9th possession now. 3rd and 1, 11 personnel, again, compressed formation. And again, you've got the Saints in man free. No use of motion or post-snap split flow action. In case you're not sure what I mean, split flow is like one player going in one direction and the running back or another player going in the opposite direction. In the old days, it would be from a 2-back. You'd have 2 running backs in the backfield, fullback presumably, going one way, tailback maybe counter-stepping and going the other. Nowadays, with so much 11 personnel usage, you're usually talking about a tight end or a receiver, like the case of the previous play I showed you with Isaiah McKenzie being the guy going in split flow. This is a second effort play, if you ask me, because it's not going in the hole, in the area that it's designed to necessarily by Zach Moss. I think it's a 41-yard run, 8th or 9th possession of the game. Last play I'll show you from the end zone angle. Look, am I saying that the Lions are going to be able to run for 150, 160-plus yards? No, I don't do things that way. I think the possibility exists, though, that their game plan is such that they want to come out and try to establish the run. Is it going to be 11 personnel? Is it going to be 12 personnel? I don't know. I will say this. I don't think it's been productive with Dan Skipper lining up, reporting eligible, and being the second tight end in what I would call a jumbo 12 personnel grouping. Not saying that he can't be effective in any role at all. Just it doesn't seem like that has generated a lot of yards per play out of that personnel group, out of that action so far to me. Feel free to let me know if you have a different thought in the comment section or if I'm neglecting to mention some plays where it, quote, worked. In any case, it would be a big boost. Not talking about total yards. It would be a big boost if the Lions could get to 75, 85 yards rushing in the first half. Meaning they've generated some big plays, put the defense on the back foot to some degree, and been able to set up the play action stuff for Jared Goff. In no way am I saying they need to protect Jared Goff, make the game easy for him. He's clearly struggled in the last 2 weeks with turnovers. There's no way around that. The entire offense, if you extrapolate back 4 games, has struggled with turnovers. I think it's 11 in the last 4 games, but I might be wrong. Nonetheless, getting the run game going early would settle the play calls, keep the offense and Ben Johnson's game plan on schedule. It sounds very simplistic to say, just get the run game going. I do think it's there for them to do so, particularly out of 11 personnel. Avoid known passing situations as much as possible. And this is an element that, if you're a Saints fan and you listen this long, be ready for a 3rd and 5 run play by the Lions. 3rd and 6. They've done it. Hell, they did it on 4th and 5 against the Chargers. I think it's the first play I showed you in this cut up from the end zone angle. Because the Saints play so much man free on 3rd down, Marcus May is out. Werner, who's also a part of the coverage element, is also out. I think the possibility exists we may see some different coverage calls on 3rd down by the Saints. Who knows? I think they play man free on 3rd down against quarterbacks like Mac Jones and Jared Goff, who are not capable of scrambling and beating them. And it's a smart play. It's a smart play. Try to get pressure with your 4, play tight coverage. You don't need to allocate 5 guys as a rusher when the quarterback is less athletic than some of the other quarterbacks you'll deal with in the NFL, like Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. You guys let me know what you think of the preview. I think avoiding those known passing situations on Sunday is the biggest thing that Ben Johnson, Jared Goff, and this offense can do. And if they do have to deal with known passing situations, the way Ben Johnson calls plays, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3 is still a run play opportunity, particularly out of the shotgun with Jahmyr Gibbs back there. You guys let me know what you think of the preview. Only able to get one of these done this week, a limited time. I wish I could get 2 done each week for both teams, meaning 2 for the Ravens and 2 for the Lions. If you're interested in seeing something else produced for Sunday morning before the game, feel free to let me know in the comment section. If you think other Lions fans would appreciate this preview, this film study look at the Lions' visit to New Orleans in Week 13, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.